history has given us enough chances to realize the importance of coming together as a people and working towards a unified goal, whether it be towards colonizers or whether it be towards oppressive regimes.
Automatically, a part of it when working with artist groups, for example, Global Alien, I worked with for 10 years. We were making participatory performances in different countries, so it's about how to come together and finally to make projects.
The more essential, deeper energy that creates bayanihan is yung pakikipagkapwa. Madali ang bayanihan sa Pilipinas kasi we are always including ourselves with the other.
Ang araw ng katwiran na sumisikat sa silanganan. Itinuturo. Sa mga matang malaong na bulagan ang landas na dapat tunguhin. Itinuturo ng katwiran magkaisang loob. Itinuturo ng katwiran magkaisang isip. Itinuturo ng katwiran magkaisa na maihanap ng lunas. Panahon na lumitaw ang liwanag. Panahon na lumitaw ang liwanag.
My name is Arlu Gomez. I'm a professional photographer. I've been shooting for 15 years and I'm now taking my master's here at UP Fine Arts.
Most of the time I see myself as a German artist with Filipino background. Maybe because of having this German passport and most of the time living in Germany. Sometimes I can be also Filipino artist and with the German passport.
Ako po isang artist dito sa North. Inikilalang Kidlat Tahimik. I'm often boxed in or classified as a filmmaker, pero I'm really an all-around artist.
With Yolanda, it was so inspiring to see how the Filipinos just came together instantly to help the people that were affected. That for me was the huge positive manifestation of the Bayanihan spirit.
The nice thing is that you have in Berlin the possibility to explore a kind of Bayanihan in a more maybe leftist or activist field where you create young relationships in groups in a different way and to find alternative ways of like what is a family.
Sa Ifugao, they call it dangha. Let's say, hindi magandang harvest ko dito, I want to go to the next mountain. The whole community comes.
The thing that we have to be very mindful of, that while we can count on other people to help, if you already be too reliant on other people that you're not able to stand up for yourself, then we get into trouble. I think it's a matter of realizing the balance between how much I can do versus how much I can rely on other people.
For me, Bayanihan means much more this collective feeling of supporting each other. A kind of like attitude of sharing in community and kain na tayo, you know, this caring for each other.
Masyadong rationalized kasi yung mga relationships ng mga dayuhan. Binibilang ang oras. Dito, wow, bigay na ba yung mga Pinoy? That's what we can offer the world, yung kapwa orientation natin.
I've always found it charming how when it comes to online voting for like TV shows, the Filipinos always have a very strong online vote. And that is also another way Bayanihan manifests itself.
In Germany, I would say that Bayanihan is being practiced in a lot of ways. When I grew up in Bavaria, we met a group of Filipinos there with their families, maybe twice in a year, not so often, but there you have this community feeling.
In 1987, we started the Baguio Arts Guild. the first years, malakas ng volunteerism. Nung nagkaroon na ng mga pondo galing sa mga government agencies, suddenly the Western way of my time for how much. It's not that we shouldn't have compensation, pero pagka yun lang ang nagiging kwan, yun lang nagiging batayan para kikilos ako, I think maraming hindi nangyayari.
Definitely when you are working in a set, you're working with a lot of people. So definitely you cannot exist without figuring out how the other moving parts are working. There's the stylist, there's the makeup artist, the hairstylist, of course the subject, and there are the editors if I'm shooting for a magazine, or the clients if I'm shooting advertising. So it's definitely a team effort.
Just hanging out, actually having dinner together, like here in the Philippines, just me together is actually already this support of friends and communities, like supporting continuing young art practice, which is the most important for the artist.
So, yung cameraman ko si Boy Niguez, who did my first film, ay yung Turumba, and the first shots of Balikbayan in 1980-81. In the Bayanihan spirit, he would come and do shots for me in a very friendly basis. No? When my mother died last year, everybody was available to make it lighter on everybody else and to prepare for yung mga makikiramay. Pero again, it's also energized by the pakikipagkapwa. No? It's a battle between two goddesses of the winds. On the left side is the goddess of the wind from Ifugao, Inabyan. The goddess of the wind of Ifugao is fighting the goddess of the wind of Hollywood. And there's a third figure, the indie filmmaker, who has to choose between Inabyan or Marilyn Monroe. Pero yung bamboo camera nakatutok na sa kay Inabyan. Bamboo camera is my metaphor for our local point of view. I call it sariling duende. Okay? I have my culture, therefore I see the world differently. I think that's how I entered filmmaking. It would express questions. I question yung Hollywood formula, S plus V equals P. Sex plus violence equals P, profits, pesos. Sige, basta't kikita, it's justified. Pero we find the next generation of kids who've lost a sense of Filipino-ness. No? Neo-colonialism lang is that nagko-continue pa rin ang colonialism in filmmaking. Neo-colonialism is you have trained yung sinatawag ni Rizal na ilustrados. You have trained an elite to continue making films that are patok sa takilya, pero they may be eroding those very central values that are important. Dr. Vera Enriquez, yung researches nila led to a very core value, which is kapwa. It's now, sometimes they call it kapwa culture. We consider the self in the other in the self, and vice versa. Whenever we make big decisions, kinoconsider natin yung kapwa-tao natin.
Michael, napag-usapan niyo yung kabunyan kung saan aakyat yung...
Returning to kapwa is an important factor. Kasi that's where we're best at. Now, I bring this up because in my films, I try to bring that up.
And now, having completed the requirements for a PhD, Dr. Honoris Causa in blockbuster filmmaking, the University of Hollywood hereby confers this diploma on Kidlat Tahimik
Yung Balikbayan ko, okay? I did that for over 35 years. It's about the slave of Magellan who accompanied Magellan on his trip, who might have been the first person to go around the globe and come back to this island, and who might have been a Filipino. So we're now approaching the Philippines, where one of the chieftains, Lapu-Lapu, has refused to bow to the Spanish conquerors, unlike other chieftains on neighboring islands. I decided to make Enrique de Malacca yung slave. I decided to make him an ifugao. That was in 1979 and until 1988. By the time I resumed in 2012, I had already become an adopted son in Ifugao. Meron akong kubo sa top ng rice terraces. My best friend, si Lopez na Uyak, is in Ifugao. This 35-year span of making a film, it allowed a mellowing of my own appreciation of indigenous knowledge and indigenous culture. When I started showing yung early versions ng Balikbayan, incomplete yung storya. So I would add a performance which would lead to a question and answer period. Of course, over the years, nagbabahag na rin ako sa Ifugao. My wearing bahag is to call attention to whatever the missionaries taught us, whatever those Thomasites taught us, whatever television continues to tell us na, oy, nakakaya yung mga backward, primitive, pagan brothers natin. That pejorative, all the pejoratives are, di ba?
Mabuhay ang ating sariling indigenous film! Mabuhay ang ating...
Ifugao, they're probably one of the most sophisticated cultures that have survived in our country. Mababangong-bangongot, Perfume Nightmare, my first film.
وإذ قال إبراهيم لأبيه آزر أتتخذ أصناما آلهة
It's about a third world jeepney driver who dreams to become a first world astronaut. I've been classified there by the third cinema movement. Pero hindi yun ang intention ko. Third cinema is really an ideological movement. It started mainly sa Havana. And this was a country was saying, hey, let's assert ourselves. We're neither first world capitalist countries nor second world communist countries. Let our cinema express something. In 77, Tam Ladi, he was able to show my film to Francis Coppola, who liked it so much that he borrowed the film again for an extra screening at his home. Coppola, who said, I want this film to be seen in America. So they included it in the films being distributed by Zoetrope Films. I happened to give that name to the jeepney driver, Kidlat Tahimik. And I'm also the main actor, so I play Kidlat Tahimik in that film. So habang nakikita ko sarili ko dun sa maliit na screen, pabalik-balik, fast forward, fast backward, lahat, it became me. Ever since that time, I've tried to be Kidlat Tahimik. Kidlat Tahimik for me is a spiritual goal, to be a quiet form of energy, and therefore accomplish more than... I did Orbit 50, which refers to my 50th orbit around the sun, 50th birthday. No? It was both a reflection on myself, buhay ko, and what did I want to share with my kids. It was a video diary. I think the main thing that I was bringing out there was, don't take for granted yung kultura natin. Dito ako pinanganak sa Baguio. Just at the outbreak of the war. My mother, Virginia Oteiza, Was the first woman mayor in the Philippines, and maybe even in the whole of Asia. No? And she went to UP in Manila and went on for a law degree. My mother was in theater, and she enrolled me in arts classes. Nang nagdidirect na ako ng mga play in the late 60s, sinusupport naman niya ako. My mother was actually a great documenter. She always had marami siyang home movies na ginawa sa amin. To the Cinematheque. This is part where my mother's influence. And my father was an engineer. He graduated from UST, a civil engineer. Mga kapatid ko, si Jeannie and Patricia, somehow also got immersed in the arts, pero not in any long-term basis. Hindi ako conscious na artist ang uncle ko. No? Meron siyang palaging iba yung dating sa akin. 1979, my film Perfume Night was brought to America, and then I wanted to have a special screening for him. I think he was quite proud.
Take 2. Take 3. Take 4. And ready. Camera. Muna, one more take. I don't have my glasses.
I ended up with speech and drama. In UP, kasabay ko noon sila Lino Broca, sila Ben Cervantes. Those days, siguro, the unsolicited advice I could hear was a third world country, developing country does not need artists, it needs economists. MBA na ako and ended up at University of Pennsylvania sa Wharton. And then I got this job in Paris to be a researcher. Nung third year ko yata sa Paris as an economist, I took a vacation. I decided to write a play. When I got back to Paris, wala akong oras to rewrite the play. No? First draft lang natapos ko nung summer na yan. And the only way to make the big change is to burn my bridges. So symbolic yung pag-tear ko ng aking diploma. When I was in the process of quitting my job, I found this opportunity sa 1972. The Munich Olympics, yung mascot. That year, it was the Dachshund. So, I proposed the Olympic Dachshund made out of kapis. Pero nung gitna ng Olympics, nangyari yung Olympic hostage crisis. About half of my inventory had not been sold. So, yeah, after the Olympics, wala akong matiran. I found a commune of artists. Kung kayo sa farm, collectively, 10 or 15 of you will rent a farmhouse. That's where I met my wife. My wife was a painter. And there was one crazy film student who was in the commune. Marami siyang crazy project. Tinutulungan ko siya. Tapos, one time he had a video exercise to do for his class. At he needed 2 actors, so ako yung isang actor. Yung professor niya may sakit, and the substitute teacher happened to be Werner Herzog. After we had done our acting, lumapit sa akin si Herzog. He took down my name and address. Tapos 6 months later, he came back, asked me if I could play a role in his Kaspar Hauser film, which was produced in 1974. And I think after that, I decided it's my turn. Yung duwende ko ngayon magkukwento, so I pulled out I bought a Bolex camera and started my first film. My original bridge to my freedom as a playwright was Olympic Games, pero it led me to this commune where instead pumasok ako sa filmmaking. Having lived abroad, nakikita mo yung bayan mo from a distance. And that, maybe that distance maybe even tells you what you don't want to continue and what you want to do. Na-realize ko na napaka-Americanized ko na pala even before I left. At lalo pa dito sa Baguio. No? Agenda ng mga Kano is to homogenize the Filipinos so that para mas madali tayong i-govern. May mga katangian ng lahat ng tao na maybe might be unique to them. I mean, maybe to a certain extent, we need a little more frankness. Yung frankness ng mga Kano or Europeans in general. No? Mga French, very critical rin sa American culture. No? I think part of my de-Americanization was thanks to my stay in France. Well, Germans are probably the opposite ng Pinoy. No? They're so precise. My wife and I, minsan yun ang nagiging source of tension. She's lived here 35 years na, so marami na siyang binago sa kanyang expectations.
Baka pwede rin sumama sa akin sa bangko.
Ito lang sa akin, sir. Asang tutuan, magnakasin. Agele lang ula.
Teka. Para akong movie star.
I think my wife already saw how Pinoys are. And yeah, it can get extreme sometimes. Ano? Pero nakikita niya na she likes that warmth, yung talagang genuine pakikisama. Siya yung nag-introduce sa akin sa kapwa. No? Unti-unti ko rin na naintindihan yung daloy ng Pinoy with respect to, compared to other paradigms. Opposite yung paradigm ng kapwa at ng mga tao sa industrial culture.